to Ian's Fish Room. My name is Ian. Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 secrets to guppy care. The first secret is hard water. Guppies love hard water.
So you might be asking, what is hard water? Hard water is the measurement of minerals in your water. Typically, we're talking about calcium and magnesium. The important part is when you're doing your water test and you have either the test strips or you have a different type of way you're measuring and you're looking at hardness, you either want that to be a general hardness, which is going to be that DH on those tests that you do. You want that to be at least an 8 or higher. 8's really at the medium range, and you can go much higher. Guppies love hard water, so they don't really care how hard it is. It can be pretty much liquid rock for them, and they're happy, but it has to be 8 or above. If you're looking at it as parts per million, some of your tests are going to show you parts per million. That's going to be 120. Again, that's at about that medium range or higher. If you have soft water, there's a couple of things you can do to try to bring up that level of softness, make it a little bit harder. So a couple of things that you could do is, one thing you can do is you can add crushed coral. Crushed coral is going to help bring up your pH, bring it up close to a 7, because pH and hardness are often going to be very closely tied together. So that's going to help bring up your pH and your hardness. Another way to do it is you could add wonder shells. It's going to add a lot of calcium.
The second step to guppy care is to keep your tank at 70 to 80 degrees.
So there's a lot of different things you can see as far as ranges for guppies. We've had luck keeping them anywhere from 70 to 80. Some people tell you to keep them from between 72 and 84. The important part about your temperature when it comes to guppies, if you keep that temperature closer to that lower number of 70, your guppies are going to grow a lot slower, but they're going to live longer typically. So if you have good healthy guppies and you're keeping it around 72, you might get 3.5 years out of your guppies, but they're not going to be having babies really frequently. They're going to grow much slower. You're not going to be feeding them as much because they're not going to be able to process as much food. Whereas if you're up towards that 82 degrees, 80 degrees, your guppies are going to grow quicker. They're going to have more babies more frequently, but you're also going to need to feed them more. And ultimately, your guppies aren't going to live as long. So it really is going to depend on what you want from your guppies. Do you want to produce and breed lots of babies? You might want to keep it at a higher temperature. Or do you want them to live a lot longer? Then you might want to keep it closer to one of those 72, 70 degrees temperatures.
Secret number 3 is they love to eat. They're like the pigs of the water.
So guppies love to eat food, like Ian said. There's a lot of really good foods out there that you can feed your guppies. Some of the things that we like to feed our guppies is we'll feed our guppies live baby brine shrimp, which is excellent. We do a lot of frozen foods, so we might do bloodworms or daphnia or cyclops, or again, that frozen baby brine shrimp. And you can get frozen foods at your local pet stores, and that's a really good thing to feed them. Now, if you don't have access, so you can't do live foods or frozen foods, there are some other great dry food options for you. Flake foods that are really good and really healthy for your fish. There are freeze-dried foods, things like freeze-dried bloodworms and cyclops and daphnia. There are, micro pellets. So there's a lot of really good dry foods out there. Now, guppies are omnivores, which means they like to eat both meat and vegetable. So you want to make sure you're giving them a good balance of both of those. One of the things I suggest to keep your guppies really healthy is making sure it is a high protein diet. So when you're getting your flake food or your other types of foods, make sure that has look at that label and check it out and make sure on there it says, protein. I would say, 50% or higher protein.
The fourth secret is they need at least a 5-gallon tank.
So if you want to keep guppies in a 5-gallon tank, you can do that. It's not what I would recommend. If you are doing that, you really want to make sure you're only having male guppies. And I would say only 3 or 4 guppies, because that's going to take up all your room there. Now, if you want to have, my minimum recommendation is a 10-gallon tank for your guppies. And You could have 10 guppies in there, or you could have 200 guppies in there, depending on how well you know how to take care of your guppies, how long you've been doing it. I've had 10 gallons where we're getting close to that 200 guppies at a time. So really just going to depend on your level of comfort, your level of expertise. Understand the more guppies you have in there, the more water changes you have to do, the more work you're going to do. But you can keep a lot of guppies in a 10 gallon. Our recommendation is starting off with maybe 9 or 10. Typically you want to do about 1 male for every 2 females if you are looking to breed the guppies. If you don't want to breed guppies, stay away from females. Pretty much the majority of the female guppies you're going to get are going to come to you pregnant. So, I would not recommend getting female guppies if you do not want to breed and have more baby guppies.
The 5th secret is guppy breeding. If you want to have lots of guppies like I do, you want more plants. If you don't want more guppies, add less plants.
So guppies absolutely love to breed. They're like the rabbits of the fish world, okay? They just pop out babies constantly. A female guppy, if she's kept healthy and in good water conditions, she could have babies every 26 to 35 days or so. And, she could have as few as 2 babies or as many as 150 babies, depending again on your water parameters and things of that nature, how you're feeding them. If you want to breed lots of guppies, I suggest you have lots of plant cover in your fish tank. If you don't want many guppies, keep your plants to a minimum. You might get a guppy every now and then that actually manages to raise up, but typically if you don't have any coverage for your guppies to hide in, those baby guppies to hide, then your parents, the adults, the males, the females, they're going to be coming in and they're going to be eating those guppies. If you want to know more about breeding guppies, make sure you check out our video right here about how to determine whether your guppy is a male or female.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you have not.